Hey, Matt, welcome back to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's
So
been a
the
little bit.
last time we spoke, you're in the US and you were had the big, hairy, audacious goal to go to Japan drifting. What's been
Yeah.
happening?
So I actually moved to Japan like 2 weeks ago, pretty much.
Wow.
So yeah, when I was looking back, I've always wanted to live in Japan at least part time. But I kind of like looking at this year. I was like, I'm gonna be doing Formula Drift Japan, and right now it's incredibly hard to get in Japan. You have to. I mean, you can't even really get a work visa. So right now I'm on like a 90-day business visa. And so like looking at it, I was like, all things are pointing towards I should just move there. And when I originally looked at it, I was like, I wanted to live there part time, but that's a much bigger thing, right? If I want to do drifting in two places, now I need double of everything, right? And so I was like, I don't know when that's going to happen. I think maybe someday. But I was like, all right, everything's pointing towards I should move to Japan. I want to go there anyways. Let's just do it. So we,
And you've moved.
yep, yeah. So just got here 2 weeks ago, pretty much, and right now I'm doing a homestay, living at my friend's house. Um, Still trying to figure out like the apartment deal, and just trying to drift as much as possible right now, and learn as much of the language as I can, and do everything. Yeah, it's
So,
overwhelming to say the least, but I'm really enjoying it and having fun, and just learning a ton every day. So.
so is the visa to get in, is that because of COVID or is that just because of the economy over there or just...
Because of COVID, yeah. So there's no tourism allowed, and they're not accepting applications for work visas at the moment. And so you can get in on like 90-day like exceptions for business reasons. So that's how I'm here for the
So it's
drifting.
drifting,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Is it
So,
happening? So
huh?
are you guys racing? Are you back to racing over there?
Yeah, yeah. So my car didn't get here in time for round one. So the car wasn't there. I was there though, and got to check everything out. And then I've already drifted like 5 days already since I've been here. It's been nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been awesome. So I went
You
from
mentioned,
going drifting like every couple months in Arizona to a couple times a week here.
yeah,
So
so tell
it's
us what it's like. What is drifting in Japan like? Like it's the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's cool is there's tracks like everywhere, and I'm
Mhm,
centrally located, and a lot of times these tracks are open like every day, and there's people out
mhm,
there drifting at all levels, and so it's a lot more like grassroots
mhm.
for a lot of people, but it can be done here because they're only driving like a couple hours, so they'll actually take their car that they drive on the street, and they'll load some tires and tools up, and they'll drive to the track, do some drifting, and drive home. And that's much more, I think, attainable for a lot of people here because one, it's a much smaller country than the United States. So the tracks are just kind of more condensed. They're together. And so, you can drive an hour or half an hour to the track and do that successfully. So that's like really cool to see. It makes it a little more accessible. Also, the tracks are smaller generally. Um, and so, like in the US, a lot of times we're driving on like maybe ovals or like big road racing tracks. And it makes like you need a car with like 400 plus horsepower a lot of times to really like enjoy it. And here the tracks are smaller. And so you can get away with like very low horsepower cars, which again makes it more attainable because lower horsepower, less you have to do to the car to
Yeah.
beef it up and all that. So it's it's been cool. And my cars aren't here yet, so I've been borrowing cars from Russell. And then the other day somebody let me drive an A86. They were just like, "Yeah, you want to try drifting it?" And I was like, "Absolutely!" Like I've always wanted to drift one. So just been driving all sorts of cars and seeing new tracks, and yeah, it's been super fun.
I'm still picturing Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, oh, it's like my life now.
Yeah, I know. It's so exciting. So you also mentioned about the language. How are you going with that? How are you communicating with the people over there?
Yeah, so I studied for like the 6 months leading up to this. But there's so much, and I was already doing so much. I wasn't like able to do more than like an hour like 5 days a week. And so, it's been a lot, but
Yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
nowhere near where I need to be to really communicate that well. But
Mhm.
now that I'm in it, I'm using it every day with everybody. And so I feel like now I'm starting to really learn a lot. Like by the end of the day, a tamagai tai, it means like my head hurts. My head just like hurts so bad at the end of the day because I'm still doing everything I was doing at home, which I was already like overwhelmed, and then added all this stuff on. But what's cool is it's I'm having a lot more fun here, and I'm getting to drift a lot. So it all works.
Oh my God, like
And
5 times in 2 weeks. Like, what's not to
yeah,
love?
yeah. And the language will come, like it's I'm still taking lessons every day or like 5 days a week. And
Mhm.
then but now I'm practicing it a lot, just in daily life. So yeah.
Well, though this is a podcast, we do have a video, and I can see Matt, and you still have your crazy blue hair. What do the
Yeah.
Japanese think of your brand?
They're trying to figure me out, I think.
Yeah,
I definitely, they're noticing me for sure. And they're just like kind of like, who is this guy? And trying to kind of see what I'm about. And um it's been interesting though. Everyone has been sorry, my nose is so itchy. Everyone that I've met so far for the most part has been like really nice to me and welcoming, which has been really
lovely.
refreshing, and really cool because I never not to talk down on anything, but I never really felt that in communities in the US. Even in my own community in Arizona, I never really felt like that welcomed. And so it's just interesting. Like here, I come out here and everybody's like stoked to have me out here, ready to meet me, excited. Um, and it's like it's reciprocating both ways. I'm excited to be here and excited to meet them. So that's been like really, really cool. It's made me really happy.
Well, no doubt they're fans of your YouTube channel. Tell us about how's that been going, and what's that going to look like now going forward?
Yeah, so right now we're at 135,000 subs. I thought we'd be a little further along by now, but the kind of February through April was pretty tough. Didn't grow a lot. We did okay. I mean, our metrics were okay for where we're at, but um, now here I'm just trying to. We had a big shift in the channel because we went from doing a lot of reaction videos to a lot of drifting now, which is what people wanted or they said they wanted, but still kind of trying to figure out the right thumbnail and titling and all that stuff. When people are clicking on the videos, they're doing great, which is awesome. So the content's good. It's just my job to kind of figure out how to get people to click on it. So it's we're experimenting a lot, trying a lot of different stuff and learning along the way. So just all part of the process. But yeah, no, it's going well. The goal this year is 500,000 subs. So I want to get there. I believe that's definitely possible. So
And for those who missed our first episode that we did, can you tell us a little bit about like who you are exactly? And I probably should have started off with that, but yeah, a little bit about you and like why you love YouTube and how you think it's benefited your racing.
yeah. So I'm Matt Haugen from Haugen Racing and professional drift driver and YouTuber and influencer, whatever you want to call that. That word always makes me cringe, but
I know.
it's so funny. So you know, I don't come from a motorsports family. I've found that more and more I get into it. A lot of people, even in drifting, their father or whatever maybe raced it, maybe because drifting's not hasn't been around as long. They weren't necessarily drifters, but they're racing or doing motorcycles or off roading, and a lot of that stuff still goes over. And knowing, I mean, just even having access to a trailer and knowing how to work on stuff. And I didn't have any of that, and so that's been quite the adventure, just like learning all that and really teaching myself all that by, observing and trying it. And then, because of that, I'm really more on my own to make this whole thing work. And so, financially, it's expensive, very expensive. Like drifting, grassroots level, not so much. It's fine, but trying to drift like professionally and competitively is crazy. And so when you have more knowledge behind you and stuff, and a little bit more resources, that helps. And so for me, I really needed to figure out a way to kind of fund this whole thing. And I started with doing other businesses outside of automotive and using that to fund my racing. But long story short, ended up pivoting completely. And I was doing a little bit of YouTube at the time and the social media stuff. And I was like, let's just try to make the money from racing, but really from entertainment rather. So that's, I love doing the YouTube. I love making videos. But it is there, or initially came about so I could fund this whole thing and keep drifting. So yeah, that's the goal. And the merch too. Like we do a ton of merch. And that's kind of all to make it whole, because there's drifting doesn't have like the significant, there's not a clear path like there is, from what I've seen anyways, from my perspective, with Formula One and NASCAR and series like that, where like you go here and then, you self-fund it for some certain time, you get some sponsors, stuff like that. It's not as clear with drifting, and the sponsors aren't as big yet. So yeah, you got to do something else or have money from something else. So
Yeah. And so what is your YouTube channel?
So it's all about drifting, right? Or just cars in general. So I'll do a lot of reaction videos. So I'll react to other people drifting, different things in the car scene, like let's say stance cars or JDM cars or off-road trucks or lowriders. Just kind of showing my reaction. I'm really into car customizing and design, so it's fun to kind of see people's creativity and share my thoughts and get other people's thoughts, because it's fun too. It is interactive in a way with the YouTube, because you get comments, right? And so I feel like it's really fun putting out these videos, seeing the comments, responding back. There's some back and forth, and it's fun. I feel like we all kind of enjoy these things together and learn from each other. So reaction videos, drifting, obviously, and then did some builds as well, but those that weren't like super successful on the YouTube channel. The builds were great, but so I may do a build here soon. I'm thinking about it and trying it again. And then just like vlogs as well, like going to car shows with my cars, being in the garage, going and checking out other people's garages. It's changing a lot though as I'm here, so it's interesting. But really anything that I like doing, it's car wise.
You show yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
And is
So
your
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, is your YouTube channel just called Matt Haugen Racing, or what's your actual?
Haugen Racing, yeah. So
yeah.
it's Haugen Racing, YouTube.com, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of it is the same.
All of it.
Yeah.
In Japan, do they have Facebook? No, I don't think they do.
I mean, you can get access to it, but
really?
I don't know if it's like popular or not. But definitely Instagram and TikTok are. So.
Okay. And I think they've got like something else. I can't think of it. But like another big channel over there. But you'll have to investigate and come back and let us know all about it.
Yeah. I've found that TikTok and Instagram are really big here too. So that's been good. And YouTube as well. So.
And are you just repurposing the same content that you're developing for YouTube onto Instagram and TikTok? Or are you doing different content?
Somewhat. I mean, it's not as high of a focus, because it's only two of us at Haugen Racing, me and my editor, and he's full-time editing 5 YouTube videos a week, and so I'm doing everything else. And so the social media has taken a bit of a backseat to the YouTube. So when I get time, I'll try to put up photos, put up little snippets from the vlogs, re-edit different things. So maybe do like a raw drift clip. People enjoy that. But I need to get some more help eventually, and then, kind of dive at that harder. But that's like second place to the YouTube. So I just kind of do what I can with it.
As you mentioned, you are an influencer on YouTube. Why do you love YouTube so much? What do you think that's done for you for your career?
Well, it's made it possible, right? I mean, I'm still building it, and I'm not where I want to be with it. Like, I'm still borrowing money to make this whole thing work every month, but it's, in my mind, it's the only way that I could do this. Because I
And you've
tried
gained,
having, huh?
yeah, even you've gained like commercial partners and stuff from the YouTube channel.
Yeah, some, and it's, but you know, the actual like ad revenue is pretty good from it. If I didn't have another employee, I would be making a living. It's just because I'm spending more than I'm making, you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to do that to build things. But in my mind, it's honestly, unless you like came in already having money, it's kind of the only way to do this thing in my mind. Because like, even if your driving's great, that's not enough to get you sponsors these days. Even if you're winning, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to have these other channels and ways to market with the brands, which I don't know whether it's fair or not. It's just, it is the way it is.
It's just the way the sport is at the moment.
Yeah. So, and I tried, like, that's kind of always been my problem, is I've done too many things at one time. And so I tried having another business, like outside of automotive, and doing that and then funding the drifting, but there is just no time to do it all. And so for me right now, I'm like, this is the only way I could do this. Absolutely. Like, this is the only way to make it possible. So.
And when you're moving to Japan, were your sponsors excited about that, or are they more international-based sponsors that you've currently got?
Yeah, so I mean, they're more international, and it's like, the other thing too is it opens up new sponsorship opportunities, right? But those are, they're kind of watching me right now. They want to see kind of how this year pans out and get to know me a little bit. But like, there's a lot of these Japanese companies that want to sell their products internationally, and the US maybe even specifically. And so they're like, wow, this is a cool way, you know, to directly reach those audiences and speak their language, both literally and not, you know. So and so it's like, I think that's what's going to be exciting going forward. But they're culturally, like, what I'm learning at least is they're not so quick to make a partnership. Like, they want to get to know you and kind of see what you're all about, which I get it, and I respect that. So I think more of those will come in, you know, at the end of this year, after they're like, okay, this guy's staying here, he's doing it, we know him a little bit, let's talk, kind of thing. So
he can speak the language, he's got more fans.
Yeah.
And you have only been there for 2 weeks, so don't be too hard on yourself. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, this hasn't been very long.
So if someone's getting started out with YouTube, Matt, what some advice do you have?
Getting started on YouTube?
For races, like as
a
in
lot of stuff. Yeah, no, I'm thinking.
Give it to us.
Well, let's start here. I mean, the most important thing of a YouTube video is the title and thumbnail. The content almost doesn't matter. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. You want people to click on the video, and as long as they watch over half of it, you're good. So the content can be pretty okay, but the thumbnail and title have to be good. Now, the caveat to that is, if the content's not that exciting in the first place, you're probably not going to have a good title and thumbnail for it, right? And you want to deliver, like, you can't just do total clickbait, because you want to deliver to them. You know, if they're clicking on videos, if you did a good job on bringing them in, but they just immediately leave, that's terrible too. So I think a lot of people focus way too much on, like, you have to focus on both. You got to do both very well. But I think too many people focus on just the content and then kind of forget really the most important thing is the title and thumbnail. Also, it's figure out what, and this goes with like any business, And just for a little background, so you guys trust me a little bit, I went to grad school for entrepreneurship at USC. So definitely have some experience and education here. Like any business, you have to figure out, what your offering is and what makes you different. Because there's so many channels out there right now, so many automotive vlogging channels, and they all just do the same thing. And for me, like, I took it to even an extreme. I was like, this is why part of the reason I came to Japan is like I could be another white American driver vlogging and drifting in the US. Or I could be, one of the only ones, if not the only one in Japan doing it. So that's an extreme example, right? You don't have to move to another country. But if you go in doing the same thing as everybody else, like, it's probably not going to work because there's people bigger than you that are already doing that. And so you need to figure out what separates you, and what, like, create that brand, right? But that's critical, especially with how competitive it is. So I think that's what's been part of our success so far. Not that I don't think we're successful yet, but we've had some success. We're pretty freaking different. There's not another channel out there like mine, and really not one even close. But that's taken a little while to kind of develop and figure out. So it's tough, but that is critical. It's not as easy as just starting to YouTube and make these videos. So gotta have a plan.
What is your point of difference?
Huh?
What is your point of difference?
One of the biggest ones I would say is so many YouTubers out there in any industry, they want to make it so crisp and so, like, not the actual, like, footage. That our footage is incredible. Like, it's as crisp as anybody's. But the actual, like, your demeanor on the YouTube channel and your actions, they want to make everything so crisp and so perfect it almost becomes fake, which can work. But I think our point of difference is, like, my editor, we don't edit out my mistakes. If I make a mistake while I'm driving, we leave it in, and he'll even make a joke about it. He'll, like, throw a meme up and be like, "Oh, like, gotcha," or something. You know what I mean? That's what came to my head. But it's like, that is so different because so many YouTubers and especially drivers out there, they want to look so good. They think it's important that they look perfect when they're out on track. No one is perfect. I'm sorry to tell you, no one is perfect. And so I am fully transparent with when I'm making mistakes, and I'll talk about them on camera. The other thing is, I don't have a character on camera. A lot of YouTubers, they become like this different person, and and you even meet them in person, you're like, wow, they're nothing like they're on camera. I would bet with most of you, if you met me in person after you watch some videos, you'd be like, oh, I'm talking to the same person. The other day, one of the guys I was with, he's like, sometimes I don't know when you're videoing or not. Like, he's like, I don't know if you're talking to me or you're videoing. He's like, it's just the same. And so that is a big part of my brand, and something that really separates me is, like, I'm not putting on a show. I'm not putting on a character. I'm just me. And I make mistakes. I say stuff wrong. We leave it in. But that takes, that takes some confidence, right? Because I do get some hate for it, and but and then people make fun of me and stuff like that. But beyond that, I get so much more love and support because they're like, wow, this is just like a real guy. They're like, I feel like I could do this, So I would say that's one of the biggest ones right now. As well as our cars. I mean, if you've seen our cars, like, our colors are yellow, red, and blue, the primary colors. So that just, like, I mean, you put one of my cars in anywhere, it's going to stand out. It's very bright. Not everyone likes it. It's definitely more of a love-hate type of style. But, I think the more important one is the first point I said. I think that's big because it's real,
Yeah, being authentic, being you.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier on in this conversation, is that sponsors are looking to know who you are. So it's very important that when you are on video in any social media content, regardless of the platform, that you are showcasing who you are and not who you think people need you to be or want you to be.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's fine with like, I mean, putting on a bit of a character and a face does work for so many channels. But again, for me, that this is what's worked, and I like this a lot more. I don't want to. I just want to be me, and so that, yeah, I don't know. But yours is going to be something different, right? If you're starting on YouTube channel, it's going to be something different. But it's you have to stand out somehow, and it starts with the title and thumbnail, but then it continues with the content and the
Do
brand.
you have any tips around about having an effective title or thumbnail?
So look at what's working. It gets a you get access to more data once you get going, and you can see like in the analytics, you can see the click-through rate. Um, I mean, just as a quick example, so if you have two videos, they both have a bad click-through rate, but one has great watch time. Um, you can trust that the one with great watch time, that title and thumbnail just wasn't good, because the people that did get in there, they stuck around and watched the video. The other one is a little tricky because the title and thumbnail didn't bring them in, but they also didn't stay. So it's probably, you could probably make an assumption that the video wasn't that great, as well as the title and thumbnail. But I like seeing, so we test different titles and thumbnails.
Mhm.
And again, as you do it more, you get more data. But when you see these videos that do well and the comments are great, but the click through rate sucks, then you're like, okay. Unfortunately, you can't split it out. I wish you could see, oh, it was title or thumbnail. It's grouped together as the click through rate. But again, another thing is, and this is where this is now opposite of what I was saying. But with the content, you kind of have to do what works. So you have to do what works, but you have to separate yourself somehow. It's
Yeah.
it's so tricky. But when I initially started YouTube, I am now doing what I want to do. But when I initially started YouTube, I was just kind of trying and doing what I wanted to do, but it wasn't what worked on YouTube, and so it didn't work. And so then I started letting we call it customer discovery in like the startup industry and entrepreneurship. And so it's actually going out and talking to your customers. It's a simple concept. It gets much more complicated, but the simple concept is, rather than us sitting in a boardroom or our bedroom and saying this is what they're gonna like, let's go ask them, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to bait them to give us the answer we want. But so with the content, you can kind of do some customer discovery by going and looking at what's working. So look at your competitors, look at people in your industry, and see the types of videos they're making that are working. Don't copy that, but go down that road, let's say, because generally going an opposite way doesn't work when you're trying to grow. Eventually, you can start kind of paving your own way. But
Mhm.
I found that when I was starting, when I just watched what works and did it my own way, that was the best route. So and I was taught some of that from my friend, who he has like a much larger channel than me. He's at like 2 million subs.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he knows what he's doing, and he's friends with a lot of even larger YouTubers, and that's generally the consensus of them is, when you want to grow the channel from the bottom, it's like you kind of need to do what is working on YouTube, um, and then later on you can kind of do more of what you want. So
And so
I
you
hope that
mentioned,
helps. A lot of info.
that's great. Thank you. You mentioned that the haters are going to hate, and right now here in Australia, there's a lot going around about trolling. How do you overcome trolling?
I don't know.
Do you just ignore it, or do
Nope.
do you make a fun about it? Do you make them into part of your videos?
I've done that. And it was kind of fun. I struggle with it,
Mhm.
honestly. I
Yeah.
really do. Uh, Without making this too long, I struggle with it because I know that when people meet me in person, generally they don't like hate me. Like, we generally get along, and they're like, all right, maybe I'm not like their style or whatever, but they don't dislike me. And so I'm pretty much myself on YouTube, and so I'm like, man, how can these people just like hate me. But so I've really struggled with that. That's I already struggle with anxiety and depression and have for a long time, way before doing YouTube. And that's been tough for me because I can't ignore it. Some people can. I think I'm too much of an empath, and I look at it, and it does hurt me. But you know, I don't really listen to many self-help podcasts, but I listen to this one kind of a self-help by Kevin Hart, and he's obviously a huge celebrity, right? I mean, like a household name. And he was saying something along the lines of, off the top of my head, I'm not going to get the words quite correct, but he was saying, sometimes people that are hating, they actually want to see you do better, but it comes out in a way of hate. And I was like, that's interesting. Like some of these people that may say, maybe my driving wasn't the greatest in this video or whatever it is. Maybe they actually just want to see me do better, but it comes out in this form of hate. And so that
Yep.
deletes a portion of the hate, which is really nice. The other thing is that he said, and this is a hard one to like accept and understand for me because I really believe on myself, but it's like they're seeing the YouTube Matt on the YouTube. They're not seeing Matt Haugen. They're seeing the YouTube Matt, even though it's pretty much the damn same thing. But certain stuff has been filmed, certain stuff has been edited. They're not there with me in the present. And so they get they make a judgment and get an interpretation from a small portion of me. And so that also is comforting, knowing that no, they just don't like that YouTube Matt that day in that video. Maybe not, maybe other videos they liked them. So that kind of helps too. And that's been a more recent understanding for me and acceptance. But it's hard. I don't know. Some people, they're fine with it. That's been probably the hardest thing for me. So, yeah.
I'm like going, okay.
Huh?
I was like, oh, it's a very big thing over here with Australian Motorsports at the moment around the trolling. Obviously from the F1 coming down from Michael Massey and all the dramas that happened at the end of the F1 last year down to our supercars, which is our top competition over here, around about how that's being managed and things like that as well. So even like when the drivers are having incidents on the weekend, everyone's wanting to become a keyboard warrior and giving their opinions. And I think like you're saying, there's that fine piece about giving your opinion and being mean about it. So there's still a lot of work that's happening around trolling and social media behavior in motorsports in Australia.
Well, social media, they gave everyone a voice, and I don't think some people should have a voice in certain instances.
That's true.
Some people may not like me here saying that because like everybody should have a voice, but I'm like,
No.
Not always, because
It needs to be kind.
yeah, you only have negative things to say, like then you shouldn't have a voice. So yeah, that one's been hard. That's probably been the hardest part of this journey, honestly.
No, but thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
Is there any other insights or tips or tricks that you can provide our up and coming drivers around about getting started in YouTube?
Around getting started in YouTube?
Yep. Other than going to follow your channel and getting some ideas and doing some research around other competitors.
Well, I never ask people to subscribe. I'm always like, go watch videos, and I have confidence that if you enjoy the videos, you'll subscribe. And with that, like that's an important thing. Don't stop asking people to subscribe to you. Within your video, that's fine, saying subscribe. But going out and talking to people and saying subscribe, you don't want that because it's really important. The way that you'll grow better and quicker is having a community with high engagement. And so, like, we don't have that many subscribers, but we do the views, and the watch time of channel is 5 times our size. And that's why we've been able to grow at a decent pace, and it's only getting faster. I didn't go out and farm all these subscribers and then they sit and not watch my content. I put this content in front of them and won them over, and then they fell in love with the content and chose to subscribe. That's a critical point. I see too many people that are like, go subscribe to my YouTube. And I'm like, why? Like, you're going to get some friends that are going to do it, but then they're not going to watch your videos, unfortunately. Like, very few of my family and friends watch my videos. It's just not their thing. That took me
Yeah.
a little bit to accept, as I was like, come on, give me some support. But it's like, they're not my viewers. And so
Yeah.
you want to reach your viewers. And rather than, you know, asking them, it's just like selling products. Rather than asking them to, you know, fall in love with your product, it's like show them why they should fall in love with it without even saying anything, right? So they get them to experience the product. That's number one. And then make the product strong enough where they fall in love with it and they want more, right? That's like numero uno. Ichiban. Number
That's
one.
right. There you go.
I'm
Well,
trilingual. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Um, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
like you've been building this YouTube channel for how long now?
I don't know, like 2 years, I think.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else. It's like
That's okay. You gave us such great insights already today. So really
yeah,
appreciate
yeah. I mean, you're always welcome to dig. If you like think of a question, ask me, and I'll do my best to answer it. But I'm like, again, it's like, it's key. There's so much information in the analytics. Like, I study it more than I should, but at least study it, you know, once a week.
Do all accounts get analytics or only business ones with YouTube?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think everyone gets access to the analytics because it's just within the YouTube studio. So I believe everyone gets access. And actually, you know, like, yeah, that's interesting because like with Instagram, depending on your profile, you get different analytics. YouTube's not like that. And I don't even think, I think you get the same analytics you do at any level, which is really good.
And do you do ads on YouTube?
Do I like which way?
Like as advertising your channel?
Nope.
No.
And I would highly suggest not doing that.
Mhm.
Again, because it goes into my, like, just the point we were just talking about. When you're advertising your channel, you're asking them, you know, you're asking them to subscribe. And again, when it comes up as an ad, it's it's more like forcing it in front of them, and you don't want to win them over that way. You want to win them over by showing up in the exploration page and in the search, pulling them in with the title and thumbnail, and then making them fall in love with your channel through the content. That's like, I I would never try to grow a channel by putting out ads, because what's going to happen, you're going to get subscribers, but they're not going to be there because they fell in love with you. That's the point I was trying to make. They're going to be there because they saw an ad. Some will be highly engaged, others will not watch one video, and that's going to hurt your overall engagement rate, which hurts your chances at getting put on the explore page and the search page, so getting put in front of new viewers. So like, number one is like, every one of your viewers is there because they fall in love with you. That's going to skyrocket your engagement rate. That's the best way to grow, in my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you. So best just do it organically.
Exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, like with YouTube, organic is definitely the better. Obviously, marketing, there's such a great place for marketing, and I'm a true believer in it, but not with building the YouTube channel, in my opinion. I mean, if you want to spend some money and do some marketing, get, you know, build the brand. So like, when I have these little, here, give me 1 second. So, I mean, there's so many ways to do it. This is a very simple one, but you can get these made super cheap. So, and this is just creating awareness, right? Like, I don't ask them to subscribe when I give them this, but it's like just a little hero card, right?
Yes.
And that just has the info on it, right? And it does say, please subscribe, but I don't give them to this. I'll go and talk to them, you know, introduce myself, ask them their name, kind of, you know, I really enjoy meeting people. I like making friends. And so it's like, they know me first, And then I'm like, here, this is kind of cool. You know, check this out. It has my stuff on it. Right. And then you'll always see they'll go and they'll look it up. And maybe while they're still talking to you, and I'll be like, hey, you know, just watch a couple of videos. I'm not like asking you to subscribe. Go watch a couple of videos. And I have faith that my content will make them fall in love with it if they're the target audience, right? That's the
Yes.
other thing. Not everyone's
Right.
gonna like your videos. So
But that's the
yeah.
name of the game, isn't it?
But I would
Getting you
say
right.
what?
That's the name of the game, getting into the right niche.
Yeah. And so again, just like if you want to spend money on if you have some money to spend on marketing, it's like do it for stuff like this. I would say again, like creating your brand, like rather than getting like a a cheap easy up from Walmart, get one that's branded and has your website and your logo on it. I mean, that's simple stuff, but it makes a difference. You start um you start developing that brand, right? And people notice it, you stand out a little bit. That stuff's all, I would say that stuff's more impactful than spending it on, advertising your channel.
Well, Matt, thank you very much. I love that we speak the same language. I love interviewing you and hearing what you're doing in the world
Thank you.
and on the world of YouTube. So, guys, don't forget to go and follow Matt over on YouTube. His link will be in today's show notes, as well as some other little tips. And yeah, good luck for the 22 race season in Japan. Look forward to seeing you on the YouTube channel, how your racing results go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'll be competing in Formula Japan this year. So round 2's in like 5 weeks. So that's actually going to be all streamed on YouTube and all that. So if you guys are interested in watching that and like drifting, go check it out. We'll be there.
We just love drifting. Anyway, Matt, thanks again for your time and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.